with an Oxnard Fire Department update for the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee. So the focus of today's presentation is around fire prevention. So the Fire Prevention Division of the Fire Department covers a lot of the things that you wouldn't otherwise expect of the fire department in terms of, you know, the emergency response and things like that. The Fire Prevention Bureau really is very much the unappreciated part of the fire department for the critical role they play in the public safety of our residents. And so you can see there some of the roles they play, from enforcement of fire and life safety codes, hazardous materials regulation through our Cooper program, construction review and inspections, arson and fire investigation services, and finally public education. So part of the reason for this update is due to Senate Bill 1205. And so this Senate bill was established after the ghost ship fire that occurred, tragic fire up in Oakland, that ultimately took the lives of 36 individuals. And so what this bill requires is that we annually come to our elected body to explain what we've accomplished in terms of state mandated inspections and what we haven't accomplished. And that's part of what tonight's presentation will cover. And so it's worth noting, though, that SB 1205 only covers a small portion, excuse me, of all the fire prevention responsibilities. And you can see there, so SB 1205 just covers a small bit of the enforcement of life and fire and life safety codes, whereas a lot of the other things, many of the things that the Fire Prevention Bureau covers, that isn't impacted by SB 1205. So you can see here, one of the things that is covered is residential group, or R1, R2 inspections. So they're occupancies that contain sleeping units such as hotel, motels, lodging homes, and apartments with 3 or more units, as well as residential care facilities. And so you can see there our compliance was dropped a little from last year and is currently at 49% of the total properties that need to be inspected. For educational or Group E occupancies, and so that is public or private schools used by more than 6 students at one time for educational purposes. You can see there we have a better compliance rate of 70%. But certainly we're still not getting to all of those occupancies in a single year. So some of the things that we are working through to sort of help solve this problem is we are investing in the training of our personnel to make them more proficient in their fields. And so they're all working through some state fire marshal courses and task books to demonstrate that proficiency. We've added a couple of temporary positions to help with some of the paperwork that comes out of these inspections, and certainly trying to prioritize some of those places that maybe we haven't seen in quite some time. We have been using software solutions for some of the issues that we're having. But unfortunately, a lot of the places that we need to inspect need a human to go out and inspect them. But the software has really helped us in terms of ensuring that fire sprinkler systems receive their compliance inspections and that kind of thing. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work for the inspections. But we're also looking at seeing how we can reorganize staffing assignments to get the most bang for the buck. And so an example for that is our hazardous materials regulation program. They do an inspection of a business for the hazardous materials side, but then separately we historically had a fire inspector go out and do the state mandated fire inspection. So we're looking to see how we combine those two into a single inspection. Certainly would make it easier on the business. We may be able to reduce costs a little bit that way. But I think most importantly for the fire department, we are creating efficiency. So hopefully we can get to more of the inspections that we need to get to. And so really some highlights there of, and these aren't necessarily things that are covered by SB 1205, but enforcement of fire and life safety codes. And so we have just over 6,300 occupancies that need to be inspected. We got to about 1,100 of those in 2023. And then we've found a good portion with no record of inspection. And so that's something that, as I mentioned earlier, we're really going to have to work on prioritizing what we can get to, and work through that backlog as fast as we can with the resources we have. And so the hazardous materials regulation, which is the Cooper program. Cooper actually is an acronym that stands for the Certified Unified Program Agency, which I know doesn't really tell you what it does. But there's 878 businesses that are identified needing an inspection every other year. And they need inspections based on the quantity of hazardous materials that they store in those businesses. And you can see there in 2023, 239 of those inspections were completed. 2023, we had some vacancies for a period of time. And then we also had an audit by the state that took a lot of staff time. So we've got some catching up to do. We now have full staffing in the Cooper division, and so we look forward to getting through those in 2024. A big part of what prevention also does is construction review and inspections. So did 710 annual fire inspections, and so in addition completed over 700 construction plan checks and 500 construction permit inspections as well. We again, in this area, we are challenged by staffing. We had a key staff member leave, and so we've been using a vendor to help us out with this process, which has slowed us down a little bit, unfortunately. So we're working towards getting a staff member back in that position, so that we can hopefully again really meet the needs of our business community to get these reviews and inspections done. Okay, so obviously another big piece of what the fire prevention division does is the fire and arson investigations. And so you can see there in 2023 we had 616 fires, and then the two numbers below, so 214 of those fires were within a structure. 116 of that 214, or about half of them, were residential house fires. The others were in industrial facilities, in factories, in warehouses, in other types of buildings. But the 116 residential house fires is really where we often see the biggest life safety threats to our residents, particularly if those fires happen at night. But certainly fires that we have in industrial facilities, they generally tend to pose the biggest risk to our firefighters. So both have risks for either our firefighters or the public. You can see there that of those fires, 101 of those fires are investigated, and about a third of them were considered to be incendiary, meaning that there was suspicious. Okay, and the last piece of the fire prevention highlights is public education. The big piece for this has been smoke detector installations. As I've said to this committee before, and certainly to the public for quite some time now, we have a significant problem with deaths in homes that do not have working smoke detectors. And so we're getting the word out. We're also getting smoke detectors out and in homes. So by the end of February, we will have installed over 7,500 smoke detectors from a grant that we received about 2.5 years ago. And so we got an extraordinary extension from FEMA to give us another 12 months. to use the remaining funds that we had, and we've had an incredible response from the community, and this has been all led by our fire prevention division. But just earlier in February, on February 10th, we did a smoke detector installation where we had over 95 volunteers come to help out from 10 or 12 different community organizations, and ultimately that day installed over 600 smoke detectors in one day. Just a phenomenal effort, and this is something that I'm incredibly proud of from our Fire Prevention Bureau, because this will save lives. And so there's still much work to do with smoke detectors, but this is a really great start. So looking ahead at what we can do moving into 2024, and so prioritizing how we do inspections. It's clear that we're not going to be able to get to them all in a single year. We just simply don't have the staffing for that, and that's not something that can happen overnight. So we're going to prioritize inspections for what the highest risk that might be represented, or places that we haven't been to in some time. Continuing to work on the installation of smoke detectors. This is something that I want to make just an ongoing thing. I really think we need to be installing somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 smoke detectors every year, realistically, on a continuous basis, if we're going to keep our residents safest from death and injury in home fires. But a big thing that I'm very excited about for 2024 is the LISTOS program. And so this is a one-day disaster preparedness program. We recently trained one of our prevention inspectors, and then as well as 7 community members to be able to deliver this program. And so the fire department is sort of going to be quarterbacking this effort to get this program out to as many people as we can. We got an initial amount of curriculum and funding for around 100 folks, and we are going to be looking to expand that dramatically to try and get this program out. It's to want a better, we've had a CERT program, a community emergency response team program, for quite some time. That's quite a commitment in time, and so LISTOS is a much abbreviated version, but gives some critical information, and it's accomplished in just a single day. So we're looking forward to rolling that out in 2024. So very quickly though, 2023 highlights. As you can see there, 9 personnel went to 45 different classes, state fire marshal classes, to increase their proficiency in their respective fields within the Prevention Bureau, for plans examiner, for fire marshal, for fire inspector, and fire investigator. Continuing to integrate technological solutions, and so technology that our engine companies and truck companies can use to do inspections, and then send it back to the Prevention Bureau, and the Prevention Bureau uses that same software to then go out and do re-inspections where they're needed, and do certainly their own inspections, and continuing to work on other ways to try and streamline our inspections, to try and get as much efficiency as we can out of the limited staffing that we have. And with that, I very much appreciate the time and attention, and would be open to any questions anyone might have. Thank you.